My joy is her joy, is his joy, and our joy to share. So here we are, season 3, our kickoff episode of Woo Woo in the Real World. My goodness. So it's been what, a year plus, right? A year and a month since we embarked on this journey together.
Yeah, crazy. We're in season 3 already, which is just so incredible. We had a nice little break between season 2 and season 3, and so much has been happening.
So much has been happening. So first, just the fun stuff, right? So when this episode launches and this new season launches, we are also launching a new website and a whole host of other things that we're going to talk about as well.
Yes, it's been very exciting. That's been one of the really fun things I think about this break between seasons, is I think that you and I got a lot of clarity and we got a lot of focus and a lot more trust about where we want to go and what we want to talk about and what we want to do and what we're willing to put out into the world and how we're willing to be more vulnerable in what we're offering. So I'm excited about that. I was just, as you know, because Tami and I were talking before we hit record, we've been like working feverishly on our website and getting everything organized. And it's been a real exciting and fun time, I think.
It truly, truly has. Just to kind of think about and recap a little bit, last season when we went on this journey around rituals and the elements, right? And those kinds of conversations that we had in those episodes and with those guests were very much focused on, you know, little tips or tricks or rituals that we had been trying or others have been trying, or really pulling in healers and practitioners and friends to kind of talk about their own journey with rituals. And I think what was exciting for me, and we were talking about this too a little bit together, was those types of stories that emerged around each person's personal journey, is something that we really said, hey, let's delve into that even more in season 3. And that's what we're going to do, right? It's, not just about where we are in our each other's journeys, right? But really stepping into some more personal conversations with others. And you use the phrase so beautifully, which is coaxing your soul, which I love so much, right?
Yeah.
We've talked about it as, listening to those whispers. But how at what point along the way have we either listened or shunned those little whispers? Right.
Yeah.
And in those moments of listening to those little whispers, what's happened, what's changed, or what's that deeper knowing, that bigger calling, that greater truth, right? Like fill in the blank for whatever it means for you. And so that's why I'm so excited about our guest lineup and some of these conversations, because that's the kind of stuff that we will be digging into. How did you embody it once you knew that there was something shifting or changing, or your heart or your soul was saying, hello, don't forget about me, remember who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so excited to have those conversations, because I think that's really where we find our common humanity, because it doesn't matter really the modality of what you're doing, right? So I might be embodying my soul's calling through music or through writing or through whatever it might be. That's not going to be somebody else's journey, but the contours of how I get there and the story behind what it felt like, the courage it took to take steps, the fear that you have, how you overcome it, how you find your community, those types of conversations are so universal. And when we talk to people, I know when we have events and everybody comes up at the end and they want to share their story, right? When something happens, like they had an experience where they were traveling and they had all these different woo-woo experiences happening, and they love to come up to us and tell us all about them. And I love hearing about them. And then it's always kind of like a little lament at the end about, I wish there were more places that we could talk about this. I wish there were more places we could hear other stories like this. To do what you just said about really normalizing it, because I think I know for me, the conditioning I had younger growing up really squashed down my inner knowing of spirit. I was always told to kind of trust external things, external authority figures or religions or experts or even gurus. I think people can sometimes fall in that trap. And what
Mm-hmm.
I have loved so much is the all the healers we've ever talked to all say the same thing, which is, I'm not the one healing you. You're the one healing you. I'm just here to help like move some junk out of the way so that
That's
you can
right.
access that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just think to the extent that we can help people either through our stories, through people we bring on who are facilitators of healing, that might open a door or a pathway to someone or a suggestion for someone to try out a ritual or a practice or to go see a healer, I think it all helps. And I just think talking more about it, hearing everybody's stories, um, it's just helpful. I know that's what helped me. It really helped me on my path was to hear other people's stories about
Yeah.
how in the world did they do this? How did you do it?
Yeah, it's definitely so inspiring. Just thinking about as you mentioned, the different events that we've been at and the conversations that sort of happen outside or around the moments, right? Um,
Hmm.
I think that's something where for me it's that moment of realization of like, oh, you've been through that too, right? Because
Hmm.
we all encounter different people in our lives outside of our own friends or family in different types of social situations or as part of our community, and we already have an idea about that person, right? Or we
Mm-hmm.
think we know, or there could be some people where you're like, oh, I'd like to get to know that person, right? And what has been striking is when you go into these deeper conversations around the topics of just personal growth or spiritual development or experiences that may have happened to you, and I'm sharing experiences that may have happened to me, there's something deeper that happens, the deeper connection, but also this kind of very comforting experience where we're learning about each other and we're inspiring each other and we're supporting and helping each other. And sometimes what I've noticed is those experiences have been not only really joyful and rewarding, but they just kind of spark something different, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And in one of the group things that I participated, actually, well, led last week, some of the feedback, after that was, oh my gosh, you got so vulnerable in your sharing that it made me so inspired. I didn't know I was looking for that, right? I didn't know. And again, it's that, call it gut instinct, right? Or something kind of pulling inside, like, why would you sign up for a meditation class? Or why would you come to one of our woo woo events? Or
Hmm.
we have a bunch of people coming on to an event on Wednesday of this week. Why are they signing up for a woo woo sound journey?
Yeah.
Right. And when people follow those hunches or those whispers or those, whatever it is, those little spiritual breadcrumbs, um, there's something really cool that happens in those experiences. The energy of it, the support of it, the grounding of it, the kind of reset, or just the like, hey, there's somebody else who's going through what I'm going through, or they went through it and now they're on the other side, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And to that point about what you did, because I was on that event that you did last week, and it was just for our listeners, so we can like, kind of bring them all up to speed. Tami did a beautiful online guided meditation for the new year, and it was an hour long. It was gorgeous and it was wonderful. It was virtual, so not in person, but it was
Mhm.
really great. I mean, I did some really good journaling and it was a powerful, powerful event. And that was like a virtual community. But this is a good segue into this season and some of the things we're going to be asking our guests, because a lot has happened since our last episode, where I think our
So
recap
true.
of season two, I think we were saying over and over again, I just don't know.
I
I don't
just
know
don't
what's going
know.
on. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. You were in major transition with your store from Pound Ridge into I don't know land. I think one of my favorite episodes was when we were talking, I don't even remember which one it was, but we were talking about letting the universe blow your mind. Do you remember
Oh
that?
yeah, I love that clip. It's on our
Yes,
Instagram.
yes. And you were like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready for it to just blow my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it kind of has. I mean, maybe I'm speaking, I don't want to speak for you,
You
but
can say whatever you want.
I think it
You know
has.
that.
I think you called it in. And I just so there's a lot of amazing stuff going on. And just some of the ways that we're going to move through these episodes this season is that we have some guiding questions that we're kind of organizing our conversations around. And we thought today we would go through them with each other to kind of level set with everyone and say, like, hey, what's been going on since we last spoke to you in 2023 with season two?
Yeah.
And the first thing is that we really want to talk to people about and ask them is, what does your soul's embodied action look like these days? Because the reality is it's going to change. So, what's coming through Tami McCarthy these days?
Ooh. Such a great question. And you're right. It does change, It's like I have to say, like, shaking off the cobwebs of, trying to have this conversation on Zoom, right? It's like, oh, we're back in the podcast world. So now that I've like shaken those cobwebs off, when you said we broke from season two and sort of wrapped it all up, and then it was like, well, we just don't know. We just don't know, right? But we know that we were going to navigate around stuff, right? Because that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Life just doesn't stand still. Um, and so sitting here today, I really decided for me to embody kind of a lot of what I was going through in 2023 was to finally just embrace for myself. Um, I've always loved holding space and bringing people together and creating experiences. And so, what that looked like in my life previously, it was all very just sort of public driven, right? Having community events, most recently, right? Or in my career of being a public relations agency owner with lots of different clients, I was really exercising all of that stuff that I was really passionate about to make a living, which was, campaigns and helping brands and companies develop their voice, and then creating this sort of outward facing, show of sorts, right? For those brands
Mm-hmm.
or people to engage and interact in the world to drive outcomes, right? And so a lot of the work that I've been doing is, while that was financially fulfilling, it was not creatively fulfilling, or it wasn't fulfilling my soul for a really, really long time. And I knew those whispers that were happening of like, there's something more, there's something more. What is it? It was so scary. And it continued to be as I was sort of untangling myself from that career and embracing myself as a creative and an artist, and all of these things that I was passionate about from a skills standpoint. Well, what does that mean
Mm-hmm.
for my soul or my art? Or I'm just going to go down this path and see what that's like, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that's been a lot of years. And so where I sit today is, okay, I understand how all these parts of me were so important at that time, and they served a purpose at that time. But I think I now know exactly how all these parts fit together, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so holding space for women looks like taking them through not only what my journey was like and the lessons that I've learned, but also how I could help support other women go through their journey, right? Which is why these
Yeah.
guided meditation groups, these events, our Woo Woo in the Real World podcast, and all of the things that we have planned coming up for season 3 and beyond, I'm really leaning into those things. I'm really
Mm-hmm.
saying yes to those things, right? And experiencing the flow and the alignment and really observing how my body feels when I do those things.
Ooh, I like that.
And so that's what's happening currently,
So wait, so
right
go back real
now.
quick. So how does your body feel? I like that. And I've been working on embodiment for the last like couple months in a big way
Mhm.
with my therapist. And so I'm curious, like how would you describe how your body feels when you're doing those things?
So when I'm doing those things, I feel totally, depending on who you talk to as well, like if you worked with a coach or a guru or a therapist or any type of person, sometimes it's described as being in the flow state, or sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
described as being in your zone of genius, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I've heard, what's her name? Elizabeth Gilbert. She's
Yes.
got a phrase that's like totally escaping my brain right now, but the thing is that you just sort of you disappear
Uh,
into, all time and space disappears. You're just sort of in it. You're fully present, you're fully experiencing it. And afterwards, it's just a like wow, right? Your
mm-hmm.
body feels so good, so joyful. Nothing was
Mm-hmm.
forced. Nothing was, this is organic, energetic exchange, right? Of total expansion, not constriction, not like,
Yeah.
right? Now, there will be butterflies, there will be nerves, there will be all sorts of things that happen. Um, but what I'm experiencing now is just lean into it, trust it, and so it just feels good. It feels
Yeah.
right. It feels right. It feels um yeah, much like performing on a stage, which is also something that I love to do and I'll be getting back to as well. So,
Yeah. So
mhm.
good. It's reminding me of so last week, and I'm gonna toot Tammy's horn a little bit because she didn't press hard enough on it for herself just now. So you have opened a soulful lounge in
Mm,
Bedford Village, which is this amazing Zen, beautiful reset oasis where people can go in and you do guided meditations there and you're offering all kinds of things. So people should definitely check that out. That goes to your whole um, gift, really, in holding space, like you were just saying, holding
yeah.
space and doing all of that. And so Tammy held a guided meditation we kind of already talked about on Zoom last week
Mm,
in addition to the in-person ones. And you said during that guided meditation, you called on something that Danielle Laporte says sometimes
that's
about
right.
think about how
Shifting on the
you want
sun.
to feel,
That's right.
right? Yeah. The
Yep.
sun's getting you there.
I know. I got to keep shifting around here.
I mean,
Yeah.
listen, it's the real world.
It's the real world. On audio, it's fine, but for video, my son is
Yeah,
shifting around in this room. Yes.
I know. You're probably sweating.
It's actually okay. Yeah.
That's good.
But that's true.
Yeah.
When you are either manifesting or thinking about, should I do this? Should I do that? Right. And it doesn't even have to be about manifesting, it could be about decisions or whatever it is.
Yes.
Right. Um, and it's also that just don't know. It's like, well, okay, one way to work through that is how do I want to feel? That was something,
Mm-hmm.
when I heard that and I learned that, and really went a little deeper with somebody that I did like, I don't know, it was probably like a 2-month coaching stint with, the spiritual coach, Sophia Light Jewel. That was one of her big messages also, is what is the energy of it? How do you want to feel? And tapping into that, as we know, and we talk about it all the time, um, what's the vibration? What is the frequency?
Mm-hmm.
And are you really vibing at that frequency?
Right.
And so yeah, thank you for really emphasizing that, because Also, I didn't know that I was ever going to have a space again, right? And I don't even know
Right.
how long I will have this space to, for,
Yeah,
but I'm happy to have it right now.
absolutely. Absolutely. And it's a big part of your journey at the moment.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also musically for you, you've
Yeah.
shifted quite a bit since
I
we ended
have.
season 2 until right now. So
I
why don't
really
you catch us
have.
up about some of those developments because it's pretty epic, actually.
Yeah, I will. And I brought up that whole like how do you want to feel thing from last week because it had such a profound, it hit me so profoundly when you said that because
Mm,
I have been making a lot of big decisions and they just like you said they feel right, but I've been wanting to get a little more concrete about why do they feel right? What makes these feel right so that I know that feeling so that I can identify some components of it, if you will, so that when I
mm.
go forward and I'm really at a crossroads again, I'll have another tool in my toolbox to pull out, right? And hold up and say, hey, remember last time and you felt X, Y, and Z? Where are you feeling X, Y, and Z? And that can help you lean toward a decision. So I have made a lot of decisions over the last couple of months. And that's when I was saying I was working on the embodiment stuff, a lot of it came from that. And my therapist says to me often, she'll say, hold up the two choices that you have. And she's always trying to crack me out of it's not just two choices. There are always more choices, but you often can't see them. But if you just want to start with the two that you can see, where do you feel peaceful? When you sit in this decision, does it feel peaceful in your body? If you sit in this decision, does it feel peaceful? And her whole point to me was like, you'll know when you've found the right one when you find peace. Like then you move toward that.
That's a
And
good little
so
nugget.
it really is. And honestly, like I bring it up because I have been so completely conflicted. And I think this is where the rubber hits the road for so many people. Decisions that are easy don't come that often on this path. They just don't. I don't, I really, I think that's one of the more surprising things for me
Hmm.
on this, whether you want to call it a spiritual journey or whatever you want to call it. I guess I just thought there would come a point where you're so embodied or you have so much wisdom or you're so in the flow that it just got easier, right? And that decisions just became super easy. I haven't hit that I haven't hit that point yet, though I do feel more zen even in the conflict of things.
Hmm.
So at the end of last year, at the end of 2023, I was feeling really conflicted around my music, very specifically. I've been wanting to do more solo things. I have very supportive bandmates that I don't want to let down in obligations and projects and ideas and shows that we do together and the way that we perform music in the world. I don't want to
Hmm.
let them down. But I really have been feeling pulled to do something else. And the what else hasn't been super defined, which also makes it hard to move toward.
Yep.
But really over break, what I call break the week between Christmas and New Year's when everything tends to slow down. I had some time to really be quiet and really sit with that exercise of where do I feel peace in my body, in my world, in my life. And
Hmm.
I decided that, I had already taken a hiatus from my band with the idea that I would continue on with certain projects this year with them. And in that week, I decided that the hiatus was going to be more permanent and I wasn't going to go forward with some of the projects that we had planned that mean a lot to me. That's the other thing. Those projects mean a lot to me.
Hmm.
And for whatever reason, they weren't sitting with peace. They just weren't. In contrast to at the end of last year, when you and I, Tami, just like brainstormed something at my kitchen table. I just hit my microphone. Sorry, everyone. Brain something at my kitchen table,
Hmm.
like out of the blue, just kind of brainstormed something. By that night, you had it written up. I shouldn't even be vague because it's going to be out in the world by the time this
Yeah, we're
episode
launching
hits.
it. You can talk
We're
about it.
launching it. So we are doing these a series of invocation and guided meditations that are set over music. And it honestly came, like you said, from just it was just flow. It was peace. You and I were just having fun and playing and just thinking
Mm-hmm.
about things. And you know, you had kind of pulled something up and you were like, oh, what about something in the style of what these people do? And I was like, oh, but or we could do this. And we just kept building off of each other's ideas. And by that night, Tami had sent me, for everyone listening, Tami had sent me some of the words for this. I sat down,
Mm-hmm.
pulled out my guitar, and just created I mean, I didn't create it. I swear to you, that melody just
Same.
came.
I mean, and so these are, for those listening, they're spoken word and music combined, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like a full original collaboration. And it was so beautiful because it's not as if we said, okay, you do this and I'll do that, and we'll see what we've got. We had a conversation. You literally, I think, did give me the assignment of, you know what, you should write your spoken word, because like
Yes.
in covers, right? Like when you go
Yep.
out and you play in a cover band, you have a set list, and you know, it might have the Rolling Stones on it, and it might have Bonnie Raitt, right? And
Uh-huh.
so the conversation kind of started like, you know, we've been sharing different playlists and music for our events anyway that are in more of this kind of soulful space. Artistically, I love spoken word and music combined. Um, and so it was like you said, like, oh, you know, Maggie Clifford does this great, like, Earth My Body, and this other one does, you know, this great spoken piece about She Knows Me. And, you know, so as if
Mm-hmm.
we were talking about pop songs, right? But these are just kind of like spiritual journeys. And I'll never forget how you looked at me and you said, no, 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 no. We're not doing covers. You're going to
Yeah.
write something and I'm going to put music to it. That's what we're going to do. And I'm like, oh, we are? Okay.
I think what I said was like, you know that we can do this. I think that's
Or
kind of, I was
whatever it was. But
like,
also,
you know,
like,
we can do this. Like, you can
yeah,
do this. I can do this. We can do this.
we can do this. But I'm thinking, like, yeah, maybe like, I don't know, 6 months from now, a year from now, or at some point in the
Mm-hmm.
far, far distance. And then
For the record, I
later,
thought the same thing. I thought the same
right?
thing. I was like, what? One day we'll do it. One day.
Yeah,
And no,
someday.
it was
Just put
that
it on
day.
that to-do list, right? um, and that night, or literally a couple hours after we met, and I was home, and you know, I have a little office creative space, and I went and I sat in there to do my afternoon meditation. And it was like, hold on a second, what just happened? And I sat down and I wrote a little something, something, and I texted it to you. And that feeling right there, right, of just whatever it is that you want to write, create, do, say, um, and then you actually send it out for somebody to look at.
Oh, that's
That's
scary.
so scary. That's scary
Yeah.
stuff, right?
And how scary is it even for us, right? We're friends. Like we talk about a lot of stuff and we like a lot of stuff.
A lot of
And
stuff.
it is
And you are
still,
so supportive, and like, I love you to death. And I know that I could just trust you beyond trusting you, right?
and it's still scary.
And it's still scary.
Yeah.
Because also it's like, you're a songwriter. You've written things. You you one day, you know, come up with a song, and the next day you're recording it, and then you're performing it, and you know what I mean? So it's like, for me
Yeah.
to then, you know, like, send you something, I'm like, wonder if this is going to be on Becki's level, like standard, you know what I mean? Like, or is she going to say, nice shitty first draft, Tam, keep working, keep working.
Let's
Or
hope
I
I
like
never
this
say
word,
that.
I like this word, but take these 10 out. Or, you know, you
Right,
just
right. You just don't know.
you just don't know.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, you know, then I just went downstairs and, started making dinner for the family. And I don't know when it was, but, checked my phone. And what did you do? Tell our dear listeners what you did.
Well, I took Tammy's words. I sat down with my guitar, and I want to say it was in one or two passes. I recorded something and I sent it back. And I think even at the end of the recording, I said, I don't know, that might be a good first, like a first good go, like, I don't know, we'll see. And it was it. It was the take. I mean,
It was it. It was it.
it
And
was
I
the
just
take.
remember hearing that and hearing, because you wrote music, but then you also used the spoken word to say, like, this is how I'm thinking about this part or whatever. And then you were speaking the
Right.
words that I had just written, and you had put them to music.
Yes.
And even just talking about it right now, the sensation, right? So talk about the feeling in the body, right? So
Yes.
like right now, like my hairs are up on my arms,
Yes.
I've got goosebumps on my legs, my heart is fluttering a little bit, because I remember that sensation of, oh my God, like, this is amazing what we did for each other and with each
Hmm.
other.
Hmm.
And the opportunity to then say, hey, let's share this with the world, right?
Yeah.
That whole process, when you talk about alignment and flow and feelings in the body, that was it. And like, just
Yeah.
even telling the story right now, it's like, wow, it just takes me back to that moment of like, which is what most people, I think, practically everyone, um, we just want to be seen and heard and felt and
Hmm.
loved. And that was that moment. And actually, like, if we had said, this is great, we're not really going to do anything with it, this is just for us, that would have been fine too, right?
Yeah, that would have been enough. Yep.
That would have been enough. But then there two more came out of that.
But that's not
There
what
was one,
happened.
and there was two, and then there was three. And it was like, this is so
Yeah.
fun, right? And
Yeah.
it reminds me of a lot of something that I've been hearing and focusing on too, is just go back to when you were 3, 4, 5 years old. Who were you? What were you doing? What were your
Hmm.
memories? Like, somebody just said, I don't even know what I was watching, but they said, um, when you go back to that moment of like being 4, and how did you play? What did you do? Right.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I remember in my very chaotic little world, you know, trying to make people laugh through reenacting things that I saw on like the Carol Burnett show, for example, right?
Hmm.
Like, I loved putting on shows. Or I remember sitting down, this was a little older because I could write in a notebook, writing something about wishes and wishing that I had a wishbone and what I would wish on this wishbone, right?
Oh my gosh, that's so good.
And it's just like this whole remembering and getting back to, that's who we were before our whole life
Hmm.
experience knocked us around, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes
Hmm.
in this moment of the woo woo and the normalizing our experiences with spirit or our soul's whispers is
Hmm.
actually making space for that little person,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And so all
absolutely.
of this is to say that that's what that process was. I felt like we were both 5 years old.
Yeah.
And I was like, Becki, look what I made. And you're like, well, Tami, that's great. Here, I'm going to add this to it. And
Hmm.
then we created this thing. But that's what that process, just kind of reflecting back on it, felt like for me. And speaking about
Yeah.
it now, it's just like, when you just had so much fun with a friend.
Yeah. This is so good and so helpful for me because, again, going back to the whole, like, I'm really trying to pay attention to the embodied feeling of things. So I'm so glad that you just did that when we first started talking about that. You were like, talk about embodied. I have chills. I do have signals, and I just caught a couple of them as you were talking about
Well,
it.
what were they?
So my signals and I remember this happening as we were working on this, and I get my arms, my forearms and my hands get tingly, like inside.
Mm.
I will get goosebumps. That definitely happens, but like I get kind of tingly in my forearms and my hands, and then kind of down in my like sacral chakra, which is our
Mm-hmm.
creative powerhouse energy
Yes, it is.
chakra. It's also our erotic chakra for, like to be taboo or whatever, but it's our sexual chakra, but it
Mm-hmm.
is the chakra where our life force energy sits. It's where Eros lives. And Eros
Mm-hmm.
is about way more than just sexual pleasure. It is
That's right.
about life force energy. And I feel it there. I really do. And it can feel like arousal, but it's energetic arousal. It's energetic arousal that's telling me you are on to something here, sister. Like you are on to something that is setting your soul on fire. This is what it's supposed to be. It's almost like it's generating down there and then it's able to come up and out. It has enough life force energy for me to bring it into the world because it
Mm.
does take a lot of heat and energy to get past what's Tami going to think about this melody when I send it back? Is she going to think I butchered her words? Is like all the things that we worry about when we
Mm-hmm.
start to embody and really put into the world what we're here to put into the world.
Yeah.
Like for me, I feel like that's the embodied feeling that gives me the oomph to like do it and to go out there and put it out there. So that
Well,
was
that's a
such an
good one, Becki
amazing.
Davis. That's a good
Why,
one.
thank you. I feel like I've been doing my homework around embodiment.
Look at that.
I know I'm
Yeah.
happy about that. But it's been helpful, honestly. So like making those decisions about really separating off and kind of going a solo route in 2024 more
Mm-hmm.
permanently than I thought I was going to, and more completely than I thought I was going to. And solo meaning that I'll do, collaborations with other people, not just exclusively my bandmates. But
Well,
having
here's
that
the
experience
thing.
with you
Yeah.
really it helped me get there, right? Because it's like
Mm-hmm.
it flowed. I mean, we created that, then we performed it. People had a very positive reaction to it. I think the next morning I texted you and I was like, Tami, what do you think about going into a studio and recording this? And here's a list of like 20 other topics that we could do these on. What do you think? Um, and before the end of December, I mean, this all happened in November. And before the end of last year, we had already been in the studio and we recorded 3 of them. The first one, which is available on our website, woowoointherealworld.com. It's available on our website, free for download. It's the
Mm-hmm.
Invocation of Joy, our first
Yep.
one, and the one that really, I think, encapsulates what we're all about here on the show.
Yeah.
And so that's free on the website. And then we're going to continue to release more on the new moons this year uh, to really help people in their journeys, and they can put them in their toolboxes. And it was such a late, it was such a, it's almost like it was just a coming up of love, and just our entire soul being just kind of came into these and spilled out. I think to me, they're super incredible. I hope people find them helpful in their journey.
I totally agree. There's something healing about each one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And, Joy is on the website. There's a little sample of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the way they each work is there's an invocation, which is the spoken word with, obviously some music as well. And then it goes into a guided meditation that's also supported with Becky's beautiful music. But it's so true. Getting back to, I guess, the embodiment thing, there will be, moments of blocks or
Mm-hmm.
challenges, or the energy was flowing one day and it might not be flowing the next, right? And what I love about this journey is that getting still and just,
Mm-hmm.
the meditation and the breath work is really, really key, is to
Yeah.
creating, like you were describing before, how you would look at a situation and, where's the peace, right? And you can't really get there unless you get still and you
Yeah.
tap into your heart. And so I hope that these invocations and meditations that we will be releasing will help people get to that point too, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just listen to this, and that will be the thing that gets your flow going, your flow state, or alignment in your own life, or maybe just a way to look at something a little bit more objectively, to know
Mm,
what is that thing that's actually for your highest good, right? Because
right.
by you stepping into your power and your highest good, that's actually what the world needs. That's what your family needs. That's what your community needs. That's what the world needs. It needs people aligning with their own heart and soul. And so
Hmm.
that's when we're talking about these things, which right now sound very abstract. I think that's one of the things that I love about these 3 invocations and meditations that we're releasing, is that to me they feel really tangible for people, right?
Yeah.
And it's also something that came out of not only our collaborations, but each of our healing journeys, right? And
Hmm.
so, like, that's infused in there too. Like, I could not have written, just as a little teaser, um, a meditation about my inner child if I didn't do the work to actually heal my inner child, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And there might be stuff
Yeah.
that I still bump up against, but knowing that I have this inner child meditation, it's very comforting. There's something about it that's
Yeah.
just super soothing, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. And I also love the way that what makes these unique, I think, is that they are two parts. So there's the
Mm-hmm.
invocation, which is a calling in. So it's a setting the table to call something in. We're calling in joy. We're calling in our inner child. It's an almost like setting that intention, right? So it's a
Totally.
real calling in. And if all you have time for that day is to just listen to that while you're out on a walk, you know, that might be just the thing to help you spark a little more joy that day, or to
Mm-hmm.
grab your inner child's hand and go have a fun play date, or to bring some fun or some levity to a situation that might be challenging for you in that moment. But I love then if you have the time to then you have a meditation. So like once you set that stage, there is a meditation that can help you go a little bit deeper with that
Mm-hmm.
particular topic. Um, yeah, they've been so moving. And I think you're right, Tami. I don't think that we could have created them um, without having gone through our own process with each of them. And our relationship with them is very much reflected in the melody, in the words, in the whole entire feeling of both of all of them. So
Mm-hmm.
I just can't wait for
Really
everybody to,
exciting.
yeah, it is. That's exciting. So that's been a huge, that's been a huge shift because when we finished the last season, that was not on our radar. That
That was
was
not on our radar.
um
Which is why, being open, I think, is really
yeah.
key. It's really key that even though, we talk about like doing the work, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And working on your own healing or your own journey or your own growth, all of
Mhm.
that, can be serious work, but
Mhm.
staying open to it and finding the joy and cultivating the joy is also a really big component of it, right? And not just
Yeah.
always kind of walking around in sort of the muddy waters of healing, but how we then go on through our day, right? Or
Yes.
through our lives, or um and I know that there's a lot of cool conversations to be had around that aspect as well. This
Mhm.
cultivating, this bringing balance, this you know there's always going to be something going on externally in our lives and in our world. But the more we do the inner work and just kind of get to the stillness and go inward, that's really where all this other stuff that's going on outside isn't really going to impact your nervous system as much as it probably is right now, right?
Mhm. That totally fair. Yes, absolutely. But that's kind of like what I was saying earlier about even though I was so conflicted at the end of last year, heavily conflicted, I still had base level stillness. And that was
Mm-hmm.
unusual for me to have that
Mm-hmm.
much undecided, real. And I had some other things come up at the end of last year that really threw my world into kind of an or through my orbit, out of orbit. But
Yeah.
I still had like this weird, not weird. We keep saying it's not weird, but I had this level of stillness, this baseline
Mm-hmm.
calm that I could touch back into. And I do credit that to my daily meditation practice and
Totally.
getting perspective and, realizing that, yep, we can hold two things at the same time. We can be peaceful and we can have conflict.
That's right.
And we can continue to lean on that peace to help us through that conflict and to figure out where it is that we need to land, that where we need to land.
Mm.
And I feel like more solid about that this year than I have in a really long time. And I have been
That's
making
so
some,
juicy. I just want to say what you just said is so juicy.
oh, I'm glad you
So
liked it.
juicy. No, I think everybody's going to like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's real for me. It's real. It's real. I mean, I've been navigating hard choices for about the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And every year I feel better, and every year it feels a little more grounded and I feel a little happier. But there's something different about this year where I feel really peaceful and okay that I have a general idea of what I'm going to be doing this year. And I have a somewhat idea of, I don't know. There's going to be a lot that's going to come up that I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm going to be open to the possibility of what's
Yeah.
coming. So I'm happy
I
about.
am so excited for you, right?
Thank you.
Because also just getting back to the energy of the year. Um, so for numerology's sake, so 2023 was a 7 year, and it was all about introspection, and really getting to the heart of who we are and what makes us
Mm,
tick and what we want to do. And now eight, which is 2024, and the energy of this year is all about making it happen and taking action and being so aligned in who we are authentically and what we need to do in order to fulfill our life's purpose, right?
mm,
And so that's just so cool knowing that at the top of the year that it's okay, that you actually are going to have like a lot of cosmic energetic support out there to propel you to where you need to be, right? It's not going to feel like you're fighting against the tide. The tide is actually going to be getting you to where you need to go, which
yeah.
that's something that, I've been reflecting on and leaning into a bit more, and just saying, if something doesn't work out, it's not supposed to, and I'm not going to sweat about it. And the things that are working out or do feel like they have the flow, that's where I'm going to invest my energy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that always doesn't align for the other people that are really sucking your energy.
Right. It usually does not. Right.
And
And then
that's
that's what
that's
throws us in conflict.
right. And also, but again, not to just keep beating the horn of a meditation practice, but there was a funny meme on Instagram. I don't know, maybe it was yesterday, it could have been this morning, it's all a blur. But it was like, I just don't have the time, was like the meme,
Mm,
right? Like the
mm-hmm,
headline or
mm-hmm.
whatever. And then it was like that person's screen time was like 11 hours and 46 seconds. And right. So it's
Right,
like
right.
we all have time to just scroll
Uh-huh.
away on the bloody phone, but 5 minutes less of scrolling to sit down and just do 5 minutes of deep breathing.
Mm-hmm,
And that could be
mm-hmm.
such a game changer for some people, right? It's
Yeah.
actually a game changer and a good reminder for me as well.
Yeah. And it's so funny you said that. I literally caught myself, if it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before, doing exactly that. I have a
Well, it was
list.
snowing, right?
Right, exactly. But I have like a list of,
Yeah.
of creative projects that I'm trying to get to. My
Yeah.
goal this year is to record and release a lot of singles under my own name and everything. And then I
Which we're
also
very
started
excited about. I can't wait for that. I'm
I'm so
shifting here.
excited. Yes, shift again. The sun is chasing you. It's good.
Note to self, I may not be zooming from this room again unless I get some shades, but okay.
It's a beautiful room. I love that room.
It's good. It's a
Um,
good vibe. But
yeah. But it's
Um,
like I
yeah.
got my music website set up, which I
Oh
am
God,
going to
so
shamelessly
excited.
plug. It's
Do
Becki
it.
Davis Musing, Becki Davis, Becki with an I, BeckiDavisMusing.com. And I
Mm-hmm.
put a blog on there, and I've been wanting to write more and blog more, mostly to do what we've talked about, like just to share stories, to share
Yeah.
resources. I've been trying to pull together like a little resource thing to share with people. So it's like all these different things I've been wanting to get to. And then I catch myself like on Saturday or Sunday, like scrolling and being like, man, I need more time to get to blah, blah, blah. And I'm literally saying that to myself as I'm scrolling. And I had to stop and I was like, what are you
Yeah.
doing?
Mhm.
Get
I have to
off of
do
the
that to
phone and
myself all the time.
go
All
work
the
on the
time.
thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the time. Because
Yeah.
it's just so easy. It's just right there. It's right in your hand,
Yeah.
right in your
Yeah.
lap.
Right. And resistance is real. The artist, there are so many books written about resistance to actually doing your art. That's a whole nother show topic, but it is
It's so true.
fascinating.
Hmm.
Yeah, so very true. But it feels good. I feel like 2024, coming into 2024, I feel more embodied than I have.
Yep.
I feel more purposeful about what I'm doing. Um, It feels really nice. It feels really good. I hope everybody out there is feeling that. I do hope that it's the energy of the year and that more people are feeling that and can really step
Hmm.
into their flow because it's needed. We need it. We
We
need
do need
people.
it. And
Yeah.
that's also why I'm so excited about this podcast and that we're doing it
Yeah.
because I really
Yeah.
do feel like more personal stories and personal experiences just have to get out there, right? I
Yep.
mean, so many people, it's just so easy to feel isolated and alone and like you're the only one going through whatever it is you might be going through. And that's 1000% not the case. But again, like we were just talking about, it's much easier to just scroll. So if you're going to scroll, I hope that the next person finds our podcast
Yeah.
and says, "This is a podcast I think I might want to listen to." It's a sign. Um,
If you found us through scrolling, you have to DM us and tell us.
Totally. How fun would that be? All right. So we are going to bring it home right now, I guess. I
All
mean, I
right.
could literally sit here and talk to you for hours. You know
Always,
that.
I see you have your deck out, which I'm always like,
But I'm
what's
just like, I feel, we should probably wrap up this episode and then we've
yes,
got
indeed.
all kinds of guests we're interviewing tomorrow and then days to
Yes.
come. And so I'm so excited to share that with everyone.
Yeah,
But I
absolutely. And
thought,
again, just to plug again for everybody to go check out our website,
yes, because it's
woowoointherealworld.com.
brand new.
Brand new. It's got that invocation of joy on there that you can download for free. We hope that you will and that you'll take advantage
Because
of
we
it.
quite literally want to spread joy in the world. So this is
Yes,
for free for you to download and experience and cultivate more joy in your life.
exactly. So download it. It's an MP3. You can throw it in a Dropbox and a Google Drive. Did one fly out?
It sure did.
Of course it did. A card always flies out when we're doing this. I can't wait to
This is
see what they're going to say. No, not again. You've got to be kidding me.
oh my
Okay, for
God.
our listening crowd,
I mean, come on.
this is how, wait, I'm pretty sure that that was the start of season 2. That was the kickoff episode for season 2.
Yes. So the card is back. This is the card that flew out of the deck as we were talking, and I was shuffling, and I picked it up, and it is the Dreamer.
The same
Archangel
card
Met
that did that.
Archangel Metatron, which by the way, this is an Archangel Metatron necklace that I wear. So that's just wild that he was just like, okay, ladies,
Where I'm not done with you yet.
a new start. Trust yourself, push your fears aside, and take a leap of faith. That is the message that we're bringing into 2024. That is the message that we're bringing into season 3 of Woo Woo in the Real World. And I'm going to add that not only will we be dreaming, but I think that we all should just dream big.
As big as we
I do.
can.
I do.
I think that is the perfect way to wrap up this episode. I
I'm
can't believe
actually
that.
speechless. I am so speechless because, you know, we don't always Zoom either.
And
And
we got forced into
I
Zoom.
and I set up, in this little spot in my house, and I was like, well, the only thing I'm going to bring with me are my angel cards, and if I feel it, I'm going to just pull a card. And that card flew out, and that's the card we got in season 2. And we we definitely were very mindful about that message, I feel like, and it
Mm-hmm,
got us
mm-hmm.
to where we were when we ended season 2. And I believe the message from the archangels and the universe is telling us, you got it, girls, just keep dreaming. This is
That's
what we're
right.
talking about.
That's right.
Yes, 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 confirmation, ding, ding, ding.
Mm-hmm. Ding, ding, ding. You got it, ladies. Keep going.
So
All
we're
right,
going to keep
everybody.
dreaming, and we're going to keep collaborating, and we want all of you guys to keep listening and share your feedback. And if you're in our community, we would love to see you at any and all events that we're planning and dreaming up. So
We'll see
we'll
you
see you
next time.
around. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna go dive into the real world. All right. Thanks
All
for
right.
listening.